In this lesson, I want to introduce you to dynamics and articulation. Now, up until this point, you've been learning tons of new vocabulary, which is all about what you're playing on the drums. Now, we're going to talk about how we are playing the drums, and that is done through dynamics and articulation and other markings. So let's start with dynamics. Now, by definition, dynamics refers to the variation in loudness between notes or phrases. To put it simply, it's just a measurement of volume, how loud or how soft we're playing the drums. Now, the thing about dynamics is there's no real way to measure it. It's all relative to what's going on around you. If a guitar is screaming in your ear and you're playing as loud as you can, it might actually sound normal. The dynamic level might be fine. But if you're at a singer-songwriter gig at a coffee shop and there's an acoustic guitar playing and you're just mashing on the drums, your dynamic level in comparison to what's going on around you might be very high. So it's very important to use your ears and to make decisions that are relative to the music that you're playing. Now, there are two main ways that dynamics can be indicated on sheet music. One is through dynamic markings, which tell you to play a certain volume. We'll talk about this more in level 5, so don't worry about that right now. And the second is through symbols that indicate changes in dynamics, like a crescendo or a decrescendo, which we're going to talk about later in this section as well. We can also use articulations to further express our ideas on the drums that change the sounds that we're playing. Now, what are articulations? Basically, on sheet music, they're things that aren't notes. They're brackets around a note or a little marking that will change how you approach that note, not where you play it or when you play it. Now, the three main articulations we're going to be focusing on this level are accents, grace notes, and ghost notes. All terms you've probably heard before, but I'm going to show you what they look like on paper here. Now, going back to the analogy of language, which we have talked about a few times in this method already. If you were to have a conversation with someone and speak in a monotone voice with no expression, no dips, no valleys, it would be pretty boring to listen to. You might think it sounds like a robot. Now, the same goes for our drumming. We can actually use articulations and changes in volumes and accents and ghost notes to really shape how our grooves and fills sounds to bring them to life. Let me give you an example that I'm talking about. I'm going to play a very basic beat here, all with the same volume, no intensity. Tell me how it sounds in the comments. Okay, to me that sounded very boring. It sounded like a drum machine. Now, if I were to put some life into it, really accent some parts, whether it's the bass drum or the backbeat or some of the hi-hat inflections, it would sound so much different. Here's the same beat with some dynamics into it. So to me, that groove sounded way better. It had some life to it. It made me want to bob my head. It had some peaks and valleys, and it was much different than the monotone, straight-ahead drum machine version. And that's a very important thing to recognize because it's not always about what you're playing on the drums, it's about how you're playing it. There's so many drum beats out there that I'm sure you can replicate, I can replicate, other drummers can replicate, but can they make them groove? Can they make them feel as good as the drummers who originally played them? So in the next few videos of the theory section, I'm going to be going over a few different articulations that you can add to your playing that you'll be seeing frequently throughout the rest of this Drumeo method. Now, there's no assignment for this lesson, only to understand that dynamics and articulations are important, and they're something that you're going to want to understand and learn. With that being said, I'll see you in the next lesson where we'll talk about accents.